Native Americans have a storied history with natural hot springs across the country. The Native Americans that used the hot springs in Saratoga did so with the belief that the mineral water had healing powers, and that the land surrounding the hot pools was neutral and peaceful. Today there are 4 ways to enjoy hot springs in Saratoga, Wyoming. The Hobo Hot Pool, maintained by the town of Saratoga and always free to the public, is a popular spot for tourists and locals alike. In addition to the Hobo Hot Pool, the town of Saratoga has also recently added a not-so-hot pool for younger swimmers. While each of these pools are open to the public 24/7 free of charge, Saratoga also maintains a swimming pool sourced from the springs that can be accessed in the summer for a small charge. This is in contrast to the original Native American belief in the area that the pools were supposed to be accessible to everyone. The Saratoga Resort and Spa makes use of the local springs by directing water into a pool and several hot pools for private use, which again contrasts the original Native American intent of using the pools. The resort recognizes the significance held by the Native Americans of the hot pools by naming the smaller pools after Native Americans and playing up the Native American theme by surrounding the smaller pools with teepees. There are also several lesser-known locations around the main hot pools that are fed by smaller spring sources, making entirely natural and undeveloped hot pools, and according to locals, there are hot spots to be found in the river running through Saratoga.
In 1877, the first building was erected on site of the current Saratoga Inn. It was called Warm Springs, and it was later called the Hughes and Chatterton Log Store. It was the first post office, community center, general store, saloon, gambling hall, and watering hole for the people. In 1884, the town of Warm Springs was renamed Saratoga. The Saratoga House was built, later called the Saratoga Hot Springs Hotel, and it operated until 1902 when the building burned to the ground. In 1921, the state of Wyoming purchased a 420-acre site, the Saratoga Hot Springs State Reserve. This state reserve is where the bathhouse was built, and it now houses the Healing Water Spa. In 1923, the brick bathhouse was built as the first improvements to the Saratoga State Park. In 1949, the state leased 404 acres of the reserve to Bill Walker for 99 years. The remaining 16 acres were given to the town of Saratoga to remain open and free to the people and public. In this same year, the construction of the Saratoga Inn also begins, and the inn opens to the public on June 15, 1950. In 1994, renovations to include 5 new hot mineral baths, 3 river rock fireplaces, the remodeling of the swimming pool and hot pool, conversion of an old state bathhouse into the Healing Water Spa, new roofs, installment of central air, and a new microbrewery were done. In 2008, the International Resort Properties acquires Saratoga Inn and transfers it into a 4-season Wyoming resort, now called the Saratoga Resort and Spa.
The Saratoga area was first discovered by immigrants when trappers and mountain men investigated the area around 1838. The town itself was originally a fort called Fort Steele and was settled sometime after 1838 when the Union Pacific Railroad was built 20 miles north of the area. The railroad brought more white settlers, Civil War veterans, and trappers into the area to enjoy the warm waters and hunting. William Cadwell, a Civil War veteran, built the first bathhouse on the hot springs so that soldiers could use its therapeutic waters. By the 1880s, British barons and other notable individuals came for the ample hunting and ended up buying ranches nearby. In the years since, hunters, travelers, and tourists have enjoyed staying at the hotels and participating in the events put on by Saratoga to increase tourism. Interesting events put on in the 1980s included chariot races and Adelaide spear throwing. The nearby sawmill also drew people to the area for the jobs it provided. Although presently, the economy's main industry is accommodation and food service, which makes sense considering the town's history. In fact, the food and serving industry is the second most important job category here, which illustrates the importance of tourism to this town.
As stated earlier, the town of Saratoga has an economy centered primarily around tourism, with the hot springs being one of the biggest draws for tourists to come in and use. This has always been the case. Early cowboys and settlers often came to Saratoga because it's one of the few places with warm water to clean off. It was such an attraction and source of income for the state that when the original hot springs burned down, the town went to rebuilding them, and continuing the branding of their town as a Western-themed tourist attraction, with their famous hot springs being the flagship attraction, which plays into the American dream quite well. The stereotypical American dream has always had capitalism at its core. Take advantage of the opportunity provided, run with it, and work hard to create something that in the long term is a successful investment to become more economically well off. The Saratoga Hot Springs is no different. The investors saw an opportunity in their natural hot springs and went towards using that as an opportunity they could build upon. The hot springs remain a flagship part of Saratoga and is still popular with tourists who come through looking for the Western experience. Although it took rebuilding the facilities after they burned down and rebuying the land from the state governments, the hot springs were built once again. This story is just a testament to the American dream and why it has become so stereotyped in history. The American dream has evolved into a story of building something into nothing with the opportunities America has to offer. Despite the false realities of this very stereotyped idea, the Saratoga Hot Springs plays into it perfectly and is an example of why the American dream has turned into this idea.